Jax's revenge domain.
I was standing there with my phone in my hand about to destroy a $500 million deal, and all because some CEO's wife thought I looked like a stripper. Look, let me back up and tell you how this whole thing started. The CEO's wife smiled at me, the way people do when they think someone doesn't belong in the room. You know, that look polite on the surface, but underneath it's pure ice. Crystal glasses were clinking everywhere. Investors were laughing, that relaxed kind of laugh that only happens when everyone thinks a deal is already locked up. Then Celeste Ashcroft tilted her head and looked me up and down like I was something she'd found stuck to her shoe. "Garrett," she said to her husband across the table, voice light but carrying. "Why is he even here?" She swirled her wine, eyes still on me with this amused expression. "I thought tonight was for investors, not entertainment." Here's the thing, when someone insults you like that, especially in public, your first instinct is usually to fire back. Maybe get loud, make a scene. But I learned something different in my 15 years as a military intelligence officer before I moved into corporate finance. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon is the one nobody sees coming. The words hit the table like a brick. Two investors nearby stopped talking mid-sentence. A server froze with a tray of champagne. Someone behind Celeste quietly pulled out their phone. Nobody said anything for what felt like forever. Then her son decided to pile on. "Who do you think you are?" Preston Ashcroft stepped forward, tall like his mother, but with that careless confidence you only get when you've never had to earn anything in your life. He moved into my space close enough that I could smell his expensive cologne. "This is a private investor event," he said with his sneering tone, "not a nightclub." He glanced toward the security guys by the entrance. If he's confused about where he is, someone can escort him out. A few people laughed awkwardly. Most didn't. Across the ballroom, the CEO, Garrett Ashcroft, just watched the whole thing go down without saying a word. That silence told me everything I needed to know about how this company really worked. I set my glass down on the table. Gentle, controlled, no drama, no raised voice. Just a quiet decision forming in my head. Before I tell you what happened next, you need to understand who you're dealing with here. My name is Roderick Wade. I'm 48 years old and I work as Senior Transaction Compliance Officer for Northspire Capital. The acquisition our firms were about to close that week. Heritage Hotels worth $500 million. And here's the key part. I held one of the final sign-offs needed to release those funds. 15 years ago, I was tracking enemy movements and analyzing threat assessments in places you've probably seen on the news. These days, I do risk assessment on corporate deals. Different battlefield, same skill set, the most important lesson I learned in the military. Information is power, but timing is everything. This story is fictional, by the way. Any resemblance to real people or companies is pure coincidence. Back in that ballroom, Preston was still staring at me, waiting for some kind of reaction. Maybe he expected me to get flustered, apologize, slink away. Celeste lifted her glass again, looking pleased with herself. "Oh, don't look so offended," she added, like she was doing me a favor. It was only an observation. Maybe it was just an observation. Or maybe it was something else entirely, because 30 seconds later, standing in the quiet hallway outside that ballroom, I made one phone call that stopped their $500 million deal cold. Here's what they didn't understand. I wasn't just some guy in a suit they could push around. I was the guy with the keys to their money. I walked out of that ballroom before anyone noticed where I'd gone. The hallway was quiet compared to all the noise inside string quartet playing, hundreds of people discussing valuations and market positions. I pulled my phone out and scrolled to a contact I rarely used unless something had gone seriously wrong. Dominion Trust Bank, escrow operations. The call connected after 2 rings. Escrow operations, this is Theodore Pierce. "Theodore, this is Roderick Wade," I said, keeping my voice level. "Transaction Authorization Officer for the Heritage Hotels expansion. I need to initiate a temporary administrative hold under the Reputational Governance Clause tied to the Ashcroft escrow release." Long pause on the other end. See, that clause exists for exactly these kinds of situations when leadership behavior creates legal or reputational risk around a major deal. Most people never use it because most people don't know it exists. But I've been doing compliance work for 8 years, and I knew every clause in every contract like they were my own fingerprints. "Mr. Wade," Theodore said carefully, "are you certain you want to trigger that provision? Absolutely certain?" My voice stayed steady. "I'm submitting a reputational incident report under Clause 14.2. Supporting documentation will follow within the hour." Another pause. I could hear him typing. "Understood. A provisional 72-hour administrative hold can be activated pending legal review." That's exactly what I need. More typing sounds. Notification will automatically be sent to transaction, legal teams, executive signatories, and registered board observers. Perfect. Then he said quietly, "The hold is now active, Mr. Wade. I ended the call and stood there for a moment in that quiet hallway, listening to the distant laughter from inside. Most of those people were still talking about the $500 million Heritage Hotel's deal like it was already done. They had no idea the money had just stopped moving, but they were about to find out. Inside that ballroom, Garrett Ashcroft's phone was about to buzz with an email that would change everything. Subject line, escrow release suspended, immediate review required. And that's when things got really interesting. When I walked back into that ballroom, the whole energy had shifted. You know how it is when something big happens behind the scenes and people can sense it even before they know what's going on. That's exactly what was happening here. The music was still playing, glasses still moving around tables, but conversations had this different quality, quieter, more cautious. Several people were checking their phones with that focused look you get when business suddenly turns serious. At the center of it all, Garrett Ashcroft stood next to the main investor table, staring down at his phone screen like it might bite him. His face had gone from relaxed to tight in the space of about 3 minutes. "What the hell is this?" he muttered to nobody in particular. Standing next to him was Wesley Ford, the company's general counsel. Wesley had this talent for staying calm when everything around him was falling apart. 20 years of corporate law will do that to you. He glanced at whatever email Garrett was showing him, and I watched his eyebrows go up just a fraction. Probably just procedural, Wesley said, but his voice had that careful quality lawyers get when they're not entirely sure what they're dealing with. Escrow systems trigger temporary holds sometimes when documentation gets updated. Garrett didn't look convinced. Around the table, several investors had gotten the same notification through their own legal teams. A gray-haired guy from Housewell Capital, I recognized him from previous deals, leaned forward with this concerned expression. "Garrett, why exactly is escrow frozen on Heritage Hotels?" Another investor, younger guy with expensive glasses, was already scrolling through his phone. "I'm seeing the same notice here. Full transaction hold." You could watch the tension spread through that room like ripples on water. Investors started whispering to their assistants. Phones appeared on tables everywhere. Legal advisors quietly moved closer to their clients, the way they do when they smell potential trouble. Garrett took a deep breath, trying to project confidence he clearly wasn't feeling. "We're looking into it," he said. "I'm sure it's just a technical issue." That's when Celeste decided to double down on her earlier performance. "This is absolutely ridiculous," she announced, loud enough for half the room to hear. "You're all acting like the world is ending. Someone obviously made a mistake." She waved her hand dismissively. "These computer systems are probably just confused." Her son Preston wasn't finding it quite so amusing anymore. He was scanning the room with this irritated expression like he was looking for someone to blame. When his eyes landed on me, standing back by the bar where I'd left my drink, his face darkened. "Someone made a mistake. All right," he said, pointing in my direction. "And I bet I know who." Here's the thing about moments like this. You can either let other people control the narrative or you can step up and control it yourself. I chose option 2. I walked back toward their table, calm as could be. No hurry, no drama. Just a guy who knew exactly what he was doing. The room got quiet again as I approached. One of the investors, sharp woman in her 50s I'd seen at previous deals, looked up from her phone and asked the question everyone was thinking. "Excuse me," she said, speaking directly to me. "Are you the compliance officer who authorized this hold?" Simple question, direct answer. "Yes, ma'am, I am." You could practically hear people's mental gears shifting as they processed that. Garrett Ashcroft turned to look at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "You did this?" His voice wasn't angry yet, more confused than anything. "You froze our escrow?" "I activated the reputational governance clause," I said, keeping my tone professional. "It's standard procedure when leadership conduct creates risk factors for the transaction." Wesley Ford's head snapped up at that. He knew corporate law well enough to understand exactly what I was talking about. Garrett frowned, still trying to catch up. "Reputational governance clause? That's for executive misconduct, correct?" I replied. "And it also applies to disclosed governance affiliates listed in the transaction documentation." Now, several people at the investor table were opening their phones again, probably trying to pull up the actual contract language. Celeste let out this incredulous laugh. "I'm not part of company governance. I'm just his wife." That's when I delivered the punchline. "Actually, Mrs. Ashcroft, according to the disclosure documents filed with Dominion Trust, you are listed as a governance affiliate due to your documented influence on executive decisions, which places your public conduct squarely within the reputational scope of this deal." Dead silence. Wesley Ford was already pulling up the transaction agreement on his tablet, scrolling through page after page. You could watch him reading, getting closer to the relevant section, his expression getting more serious with each line. The room had gone completely still. Investors watched Wesley with the kind of focused attention that comes from years of waiting for lawyers to deliver verdicts that could cost them millions. Finally, Wesley found what he was looking for. He read the section twice, then looked up at Garrett with an expression I can only describe as grim resignation. Section 14.2, he said quietly. Reputational risk provisions for governance affiliates. Another long pause while that sank in. He's right, Wesley said. And those two words changed everything. That's when Preston Ashcroft completely lost it. This is extortion. He shouted loud enough that conversations at nearby tables stopped cold. His face was red now, that kind of angry you get when you're used to getting your way and suddenly can't. You embarrass my mother in public, then you freeze our deal. That's blackmail. Several investors were watching this outburst with the kind of expression you get when you realize you might have backed the wrong horse. Near the far end of the table, Victoria Morse, she chaired Housewell's investment committee, opened a small leather notebook and started writing. When Victoria Morse starts taking notes during a crisis, that's when you know things have moved from problem to disaster. Preston wasn't done. If you think you can threaten our company because someone hurt your feelings, you're going to regret it. He stepped closer, trying to intimidate me with his height. I can make one phone call and ensure you never work in this industry again. Wrong move, kid. Very wrong move. The moment Preston made that threat, the whole dynamic in the room shifted. See, up until that point, this could have been written off as a misunderstanding. Maybe some overly sensitive compliance officer getting his feelings hurt. But threatening someone's career in front of a room full of investors, that's when things move from personal dispute to corporate governance crisis. Wesley Ford slowly closed his tablet, like he was deciding whether to say something or just let this train wreck happen. Garrett shifted uncomfortably, finally realizing his family had just made everything 10 times worse. Preston, Garrett said quietly, "That's enough," but the damage was already spreading. Victoria Morse had stopped writing and was now making phone calls. Not obvious ones, she'd stepped slightly away from the table, speaking in low tones to someone on the other end. But I could see her gesturing toward the Ashcroft family, and that wasn't a good sign for them. My phone buzzed. New message from Victoria's team, a secure file marked Heritage Hotel's Governance Risk Assessment. I opened it while the family was still arguing among themselves. What I found inside made this whole situation much more interesting. The document contained summaries from previous investor risk reviews, stuff that had been quietly flagged over the past 2 years. 2 incidents stood out immediately, both involving Celeste Ashcroft at company-related events. First one happened at a charity auction 18 months ago. Celeste had publicly berated a junior marketing coordinator in front of major donors, calling her incompetent and unprofessional because the seating arrangements didn't meet her expectations. The employee filed a formal HR complaint. Company settled quietly, but the incident got documented in their governance files. Second incident was even more telling. Last year's private investor reception, Celeste confronted a visiting fund manager over his wife's dress, suggesting she looked like she'd wandered in from the street. When the manager objected, Celeste demanded security remove him from the VIP area. Took 3 senior executives to smooth that over. Here's what made this really bad for the Ashcrofts. This wasn't just some compliance officer being oversensitive. This was a documented pattern of behavior that had been flagging investor concerns for months. I looked up from my phone to find Victoria watching me from across the room. She gave me a slight nod, then returned to her phone call. Around her, other Housewell associates were having similar conversations, all speaking in those careful tones that meant serious money was reconsidering its position. Meanwhile, the Ashcroft family drama was still unfolding. Preston had moved on from threats to righteous indignation. "This is harassment, pure and simple," he announced to anyone who'd listen. "We make one innocent comment, and suddenly we're being treated like criminals." One innocent comment. That's how entitled people rewrite history. Minimize their actions while maximizing their victimhood. An older investor at the far end of the table, guy I recognized as a pension fund representative, spoke up. "Preston, with respect, this isn't about one comment. We're seeing a pattern that raises questions about operational oversight." "What pattern?" Preston demanded. That's when Victoria Morse decided to join the conversation. She walked back to the table, phone tucked away, and set down a printed document next to her notebook. "The pattern documented in your governance filings," she said calmly. "Multiple incidents involving family interference in business operations, complaints from staff and business partners, settlements paid to avoid negative publicity." Silence. You could practically hear people recalculating their risk assessments in real time. Garrett's face went pale. "Victoria, those were minor personnel issues, completely unrelated to what?" Victoria interrupted. "To the question of whether this company is run by professionals or by family dynamics, because right now, that's exactly what our investment committee is discussing." The room had gone dead quiet except for the sound of phones buzzing as more notifications came in. Other investors were getting similar risk assessment documents from their legal teams. I watched face after face change expression as they read through the same information I'd just seen. That's when the first major investor made his move. "Garrett," said the pension fund rep, standing up from his chair. "I think we need to pause this celebration until some governance questions get answered." "Governance questions?" Celeste finally spoke up, her voice sharp with frustration. "What governance questions? I'm not even part of the company." Victoria turned to look at her directly. "Mrs. Ashcroft, according to SEC disclosure requirements, spouses of senior executives who regularly participate in business functions and have documented influence on corporate decisions are considered governance affiliate. Your conduct at company events becomes part of our fiduciary risk assessment." The legal terminology hit like a sledgehammer. Celeste stared at Victoria like she'd just been speaking a foreign language. Wesley Ford nodded grimly. "That's correct. The Dodd-Frank provisions extended governance oversight to include family members with material influence." Material influence. Celeste's voice was getting higher. "I don't have any influence." "Ma'am," I said, pulling up another section of the compliance documentation, "the filings show you've intervened in at least 6 operational decisions over the past 18 months. Vendor selections, event planning, staffing recommendations, all documented in board minutes." Garrett's expression went from confused to horrified as he realized where this was heading. "Those were just suggestions." "Suggestions that were implemented," Victoria added, "which creates legal liability for the investment partners." Now the phones were really going crazy. Investors all around the room were getting calls from their risk management teams, legal departments, compliance officers. The careful murmur of professional concern was starting to sound more like controlled panic. Preston tried one more time to regain control. "This is ridiculous. You're all overreacting to Preston." The voice came from a woman I hadn't noticed before, sitting at a smaller table near the back of the room. Late 50s, silver hair, wearing a simple black dress that probably cost more than most people's cars. "Ma'am." Preston turned toward her, clearly not recognizing who he was dealing with. "My name is Cordelia Nash," she said, standing slowly. "I chair the board's governance committee." Oh, this was about to get very interesting. Cordelia Nash didn't need to raise her voice. She had that kind of authority that comes from 30 years of making decisions that affect billions of dollars and thousands of jobs. When she spoke, the entire room went silent. "I've been observing this situation for the past hour," she said, her tone measured but carrying unmistakable weight. "Before we discuss resolving the escrow hold, I need to ask a fundamental question." She looked directly at Garrett, who runs Heritage Hotels. Nobody answered immediately. Garrett shifted in his chair, clearly choosing his words carefully. "I do, as CEO." Cordelia's expression didn't change. "Wesley, could you share what the governance audit revealed about operational decision-making?" Wesley Ford opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "The review shows multiple instances over the past 18 months where executive decisions were modified following input from non-board family members." He slid the document across the table. "Vendor contracts altered after spousal intervention. Staffing decisions reversed based on family preferences. Event planning budgets modified to accommodate personal requests." Victoria Morse added quietly, "Our risk assessment identified this as a material governance concern 3 months ago." Garrett leaned forward, trying to salvage the situation. "These were informal consultations, nothing that affected core business operations."
Mr.
Ashcroft, Cordelia replied, "Informal family influence on corporate decisions is precisely what governance protocols exist to prevent." The room stayed quiet while that sank in. On the big screen behind Cordelia, board members connected remotely were reviewing the same documentation. You could see them scrolling through pages, occasionally making notes. Finally, Garrett turned to me. "What exactly would it take to resolve the escrow hold?" "I've been thinking about this since I made that phone call." 3 conditions, I said. The room tensed up. When compliance officers start listing conditions, it usually means someone's about to lose something important. First, immediate transition to independent CEO leadership, appointed by the board without family input. Garrett's face went white, but he didn't interrupt. Second, formal removal of all family members from governance disclosures, with prohibition on participation in investor-related business functions. Celeste started to object, but Cordelia held up a hand to stop her. Third, implementation of family governance separation protocols to prevent future operational interference. Preston looked like he wanted to explode. "You can't be serious. You're destroying our company over a stupid comment." "No," I replied. "I'm protecting investor capital from undisclosed governance risk." Cordelia studied the conditions for a long moment. Then she looked around the room at the board members on screen, the investors at tables, the legal teams taking notes. The board will vote on these recommendations, she announced, all in favor of implementing immediate governance corrections to restore investor confidence. One by one, hands went up around the room. Board members on screen indicated their approval. Even some of the Heritage Hotel's executives raised their hands. The vote wasn't even close. 3 weeks later, the business headlines told the story in corporate speak. Heritage Hotels announces leadership transition. Inside the industry, everyone knew what that meant. Garrett Ashcroft had stepped down as CEO, replaced by an interim executive with no family ties to the company. The board described it as a governance modernization initiative designed to enhance investor confidence and operational efficiency. The other changes happened quickly. Celeste was removed from all corporate disclosures and banned from company investor events. The legal settlement on her defamation lawsuit cost her a significant portion of her personal assets. Preston found himself with no role, no access, no future with the company his family had built. The new governance protocols became a model for other firms dealing with family influence issues. No relatives at investor functions, no spousal input on operational decisions, clear separation between personal relationships and corporate responsibilities. The $500 million Heritage Hotels deal eventually closed under the new leadership, with additional governance safeguards written into the agreement. Investors were cautious at first, but the money started moving again once they saw the changes were real. As for me, the board offered me a position as Senior Vice President of Governance Risk Management. Turns out there's significant demand in the market for people who understand how to identify and manage family influence problems before they become investor relations disasters. 6 months later, I was walking out of another corporate headquarters after helping them restructure their governance protocols. The city moved around me like it always does, people heading to meetings, taxis honking, construction crews working on the next big development. I stopped for a moment on the sidewalk and thought about how all this started. One insulting comment at an investor dinner, one phone call to freeze an escrow account, one compliance officer who understood that professional competence beats social privilege every single time. The Ashcroft family learned something that night, though I'm not sure they'll admit it. Success can make you believe the rules don't apply to you, but in the business world, there are always people like me, quiet, professional, armed with the right knowledge and the authority to use it, watching to make sure the system works the way it's supposed to. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one nobody notices until it's too late. You know what the real lesson is here? It's not about revenge or getting even with people who disrespect you. It's about understanding that in a professional environment, competence and knowledge will always trump arrogance and entitlement. The moment someone tries to diminish your worth based on appearance or assumptions, that's when you show them exactly who they're dealing with. Every man over 50 knows this truth. You don't have to be the loudest or the flashiest to have real power. You just need to be the smartest person in the room, who knows how to use the system properly. And when entitled people try to push you around because they think you don't matter, that's when quiet competence becomes your most effective weapon. The business world respects results, not attitudes. Remember that next time someone tries to make you feel small, you might be holding more power than they realize.